Welcome to another bot bash where we throw as many bots as we can in as small a space we can and just see them go to town on each other. I am Normalism, your host, and today I am not doing Warcraft 3. I wasn't going to stick with Warcraft 3 forever. Besides, Battle Realms is more my thing. So, today we've got 5 bots, that's all I could fit. I could have done 7 on a bigger map, but I like the size of this map. It's very small, very close quarters. A lot of tension over this spot, fighting the rice over the, just over the water from each other. You can get across and fight lots. So I wanted to see that sort of close quarters, constant threat. Look at this is very aggressive. So, today, on the teams, we have in blue, as off-color wolf, we have Kenji. See, Kenji. Over in red, as, oh, I don't have vision of them. Oh, there we go. As, out of place red Lotus, that's Shinja. We're gonna pop his name, there we are. Okay, this is a little weird, the fog. I'll try and keep on top of this as best I can, but it seems to keep blinking in and out. Here we have in green, it's Grayback. And then just up here in the purple, we have Zymeth. Oh, it's showing me the faction colors. Okay, I'll try not to select them too much. It's showing me the faction vision when I click on them. It's actually pretty clever and unique for the time, because it shows you really just how advanced this kind of was for its time. So yeah, that's Zymil in the purple. And lastly, we have in the orange, we have Otomo, also as Lotus. So that's 3 Lotus teams, 1 Serpent here, and then 1 Wolf team for Kenji. As you can hear, there's already fighting going on. Where is that? Must be down here. Yep, the Wolf has decided to go Slingers first against Blade Acolytes, I believe? Acolytes, yeah, Blade Acolytes. I don't think that favors Wolf, but apparently it's quite even. Although, to be fair, he was distracted by a peasant first. If the Wolf can get a tower, it's fine. They do have a tower, but it's going to be a little bit rough for them. They might get eliminated pretty early if they don't get their resources and that up. Which is fine. That's what a bot bash is all about. Meanwhile, the Red Lotus is getting a training yard next. That'll allow them to get Staff Disciples, I believe it is? Or is it Leaf Disciples and Staff something or other? Purple and green have decided to live in harmony, and blue's also built a peasant hut down here. That's probably not helping you, Kenji. So we've got muskets and swordsmen. That's very strong opening for the green, for Grayback. Over here we've got Leaf Disciples. That is definitely my preferred pick, because they have that reflect damage against melee, and they're a strong ranged unit otherwise. Very abusive against other teams. The only thing that can really beat them is just throwing tier 1 ranged units at them in this such close quarters environments. But this is going to be basically a stalemate for as long as they're producing Leaf Disciples. There we go. Oh, that's aggressive. A tower right next to green. I've never actually seen the AI play like this, to be honest. My experiences in this map were much more standard. Everyone's staying on their side of the river and sort of fighting over the top of it. But this is much more aggressive. Getting even a peasant in there would be hugely impactful. I don't like this decision, as funny as it is. Raiders, not very strong. They really just don't have the health. They're kind of as weak as like a tier 1 unit, if you don't know these things. And their only real advantage would be lighting a bunch of things on fire and causing as much trouble and havoc that way as possible. as possible. Now we've got an infested one coming down with those maggots in his belly. He's going to, I don't know, even out this fight. These raiders, they're not doing so well. They really need to get some muskets. But if the raiders turned on these peasant huts, turned on other things, it'd be a lot better. Orange and green are fighting now. This is a disaster for green. He really needs orange to be hitting on purple. It was just eating up all these resources. Look at these raiders, what are they doing there? That doesn't make any sense. Come on, green, get yourself together. Over here, I think the wolf is still faring disastrously. They've got a peasant hut on the wrong side of the map, meaning by the time their units show up, it's far too late to really contribute anything. Meanwhile, red has gathered a small army of staff adepts, there we are, they're adepts, and blade acolytes. Unless that peasant bashes that guy, he's never gonna die. And to be honest, I think the red team might just break this tower with that brute force. Back over to the other side, I can hear a musket finally. Unfortunately, he went down. Muskets do explosive damage, I believe? Or something like that, as their base attack, which is very powerful. Lots of units kind of weak to it. Not many units resistant to it. I can't really demonstrate that right now, but you'll just have to take my word on it. And raiders on the flip side are absolutely trash for this kind of fighting. And as you can see, that red pain icon whenever this infested one attacks is him suffering reflect damage from the Leaf Disciples. And his explode on death is about to go off and hopefully hurt some of Pow. Not really that big of an impact. It really works when you got 2 or 3 of them in a fight and you're hitting like all the enemy units. Now we've got this musket. It looks like the musket actually doesn't have good damage. I wonder, can I see? No, I can't. These Leaf Disciples might actually be one of the units resistant to explosives, which would just give them another advantage that they don't really need, but not to say that they're the strongest tier 1 ranged unit, or even the strongest unit in the game, but they certainly are a very dominant one. The only thing that I think could really beat them is archers and maybe crossbows, just for the sheer damage that archers bring. This infested one, hopefully he does a little bit more damage before he dies. But being in red health, it's not looking good. Meanwhile, over here, for blue, it is basically over. Even the fast rate of peasant production at this point isn't going to save him. The only thing that might save him is being down here with, with his peasant hut just randomly in the middle of nowhere. But, oh, he built a well. Good job. Wolves can get access to a well almost immediately. It's a very strange decision. I wonder why they did that. Maybe they're a low water-oriented faction. So now we've got a couple of muskets out. They actually seem to be faring a lot better. And muskets can do really well. You just really sort of need them to get going. Getting in melee range is not what you want. Moving that away would be better, but they should be able to take down together this Leaf Disciple. Yep. And Pow, taking another shot. One of the other reasons Leaf Disciples are so strong is because their ranged attack is piercing and their melee attack is piercing. So if your unit isn't immune to pierce or resistant to piercing damage, then the Leaf Disciple is basically as effective in melee range as it is in range. I mean, I'm sure there's a damage reduction. Oh, there we go. Leaf Disciple in this tower. That is going to be absolutely devastating. Green just has to give up on this area now. They will not be able to fight around that tower because lightning strikes are just so disgustingly powerful. It's super dangerous, super deadly. As you can see again, this swordsman, he's basically going toe-to-toe with this Leaf Disciple, and it's just shows how strong these Leaf Disciples can be, especially in this short, close-quarters battles. Right now, I obviously have to give it to Shinja, who has no real resistance, no real opposition. He completely eliminated his nearest opponent, still killing him, but he's basically removed him from the game. If he can just get rid of that peasant hut, that's basically blue gone. Over here we've got orange is doing okay, not really teching up yet. Got all 3 of the unit producing structures, which is important for the Lotus to get, because they need all 3 before they can really go up in the tech tree. I believe they need that to get the Brothers Crypt, to get all 3 of the brothers, and then they need that to get a town hall. I can't remember. It's been a while since I played Lotus. Their tech tree is always a bit wonky, and you don't really need to worry about it so much, as long as you can get, you know, your 3 unit producing structures. The other teams you can sort of go without the 3rd structure for a while, as here the Serpent has. If they could just get up a tower somewhere with a musket in it, I think it would make a world of difference. I like this. This wolf peasant, he's not giving in. He's gonna bash this tower with his fists. Oh, well, that's a little sad. And here I think we're finally seeing the death of the blue team's final peasant hut at this side of the map. One strange and funny thing about this game is how, I guess you're never really out until your last peasant hut goes, and that creates an interesting circumstance like this, where you can have a peasant hut here and a peasant hut here, and you don't need resources, and your army just keeps coming, so to speak. I don't know if it really counts as a defensive bonus. I suppose I'd almost consider it a defensive bonus to just throw your peasants at the enemy, because at least they'll distract them in the battle. They'll absorb damage for your more important units. They'll pull range units into melee range. So I guess I'd consider that a defensive bonus. But overall, yeah, not 100%. So anyway, I believe Shinja's gonna clean this up eventually. And purple, I'd say, is the most dominant position. Except maybe orange? But orange doesn't really seem to be capitalizing on what they have, which is complete freedom. This peasant hut over here is just doing nothing. I guess what's confused me about it is orange could just be going up and up and up. Can I see their resources? Yeah, no real rice right now. That seems to be hindering them. And they don't really seem to know what to do with that lack of rice in general. They need to put 2 or 3 more people on gathering. I know it sounds, counterintuitive, but your resources don't go anywhere. Once you've got them, you've got them. It's not like you're going to lose them. Over here we can see more fighting between green and purple, who have just led into each other's areas. I think this is going to kill off green in time. Let's see if that rifle does explosive damage. Maybe it's piercing. It's hard to say. I think that's probably piercing, because it's a small piece of damage, whereas I feel like explosive does more to buildings. Or maybe that's just my theory, and building damage is just based off what hits it. This poor red team. This is actually one of the reasons I was so hesitant to do a bot bash of Battle Realms. It's gonna take forever for a team to die, even though there's clear winners. The game just in general, the bots aren't good at killing things, and and because you peasants spawn perpetually for no cost, you can really struggle to just remove a team from the game for the longest time. As you can see again, this Leaf Disciple is absolutely schooling this swordsman in a 1v1 fight. I think the swordsman might have won if he started the fight, but even now, if this musket's not going to kill it, he's going to die as well. So that Leaf Disciple, I know it wasn't a fair 2v1 example, but the Leaf Disciple is the clear winner here. Took down a swordsman by himself from full health, and so on. The fighting rages. I guess the problem is the AIs are so close they're not trying to build up, they're just trying to kill each other as quickly as possible. Oh, we got a town hall, there we go. So yeah, you just need the 3 structures, you get a town hall. That was surprising, I didn't think he'd get the resources in time. I wonder if he cheated. Here's red having another go at trying to eliminate blue. Between free repairs and free peasants, this is an uphill battle. I would like to see Battle Realms come back with some of these ideas better implemented. Oh, here we go. Red is really getting big now. They've got the Town Hall, they've got the Crypt of the Brothers, just the Warlock in general being there. Warlocks do amazing damage types. Their ranged attack is actually explosive, I believe, and their melee attack is magic, which makes them have 2 very strong, unique damage types. Samurais and Ronin, I believe, are weak to explosive type, which is why Warlocks are so nasty, but Warlocks at the same time are weak to cutting. So the unit you actually want to send against Warlocks, if you're the Dragon, is Dragon Warriors, because Dragon Warriors are more resistant to the damage types they deal, and still strong against them. So if your opponent has a bunch of Warlocks, Dragon Warriors are the way to go. Green is still struggling to just get involved. Blue has decided to start harvesting. Blue could actually undo purple here, because while it's hard to say, purple isn't really harvesting rice from up here. This is his only resource location, and if he gets taken down, like if he's not getting resources from down here, like he's struggling for rice right now. He's not got a lot. So if he loses all of this, and these peasants just eventually destroy this tower, hold on, how much rice is he dropping off? That was 20. If blue just keeps hammering on this tower... lightning. But yeah, if blue just keeps hammering on this tower, slowly he will eventually take it down, and that will leave purple without a strong position here, like where he's hitting anything. And he just dies to peasants, so to speak, and it gives green a chance to get back in the game by taking this rice patch. See again, there goes a peasant, he's running in. These peasants are trying to harvest. I think if just 2 or 3 more peasants started hitting that tower, eventually it'd fall, he'd have to repair. Orange still isn't capitalizing on his open area. He just keeps sending in 1 unit at a time, and I think it's going to take one of these teams to actually die, probably to red, before a proper opponent to red shows up. Oh, I can see a... Oh, that was a... Yeah, they're using abilities. I'm not sure why. Seems like a waste, but okay. Oh, it doesn't show which ones. He's got the ability from Tausel here. I thought it was Tausel. I can't always remember their names. He's building a peasant hut. Keep at it, Blue. Keep at it. So here comes, and as you can see, that explosive damage chunks down buildings. It's very effective. This may be the death of Green, just because the sheer damage being dealt to his construction means he'll never really recover. You know, it was already pretty obvious Green wasn't going to make it very far. Seems like we're just going to have a Lotus fight. And in this close quarters environment, Lotus does tend to have an advantage because of these Leaf Disciples. But, we'll see how things go. Maybe, well, let's face it, Green's doomed. And now his tavern's going down. And yeah, we'll have a 3-way Lotus fight between Shinja, Zymeth? Zymeth, I believe, is medication. And Otomo up here. It's funny, the bots have different stats for how they like to play, how aggressive they are. And I believe Otomo is a very passive bot, which might explain why he hasn't done much up the top. I think his aggressiveness is like 43 or 20 something. You can look at it in the lobby by hovering over the bot in particular, with the Winter of the Wolf version of the game. And you can see just how aggressive and all their different stats. Like, do they prefer horses? Do they like to explore? Do they like battle gear? Do they prefer heroes? Orange now has a Warlock as well, and is absolutely devastating purple. This Warlock, again, just pow, pow, all that damage. That's just one Warlock. If you have 2 or 3 of them, they can absolutely demolish buildings in seconds. It's probably why they're one of the strongest tier 3 units in that regard. You really have to drag them into melee range, or pick them off somehow. Because if you just let them shoot, they're going to tear apart your army. It's actually funny, when you upgrade them to a Master Warlock, they lose their melee damage magic attack, I believe. I think it comes slashing, or blunt, or piercing. I can't remember. I might have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. The other reason Warlocks are so strong is because you can start them out as a ranged unit, and then when they get low, you use their Warlock Ascension ability, and they suddenly grow into the proper full-size unit. And if they're an infested one, they actually explode, dealing its on-death effect, which we'll see in a moment. Splat. Which just deals damage in an area around it. So you can really sort of take advantage of how your Warlocks ascend. Although that being said, infested ones are weak to slashing, making them vulnerable to many units in the game. And if you fail to ascend, then you just lose the unit. But it is a cheeky way to get more out of your units as you play. And this might be the final death of Blue. I see that's why Red came here, just to finally kill Blue off. And he's just slowly chewing his way through the fat. The interesting thing is, it does get easier to kill off teams as you go up through the tech tree. Just because of that increased unit variety, you get more things that are good against buildings. Whereas early on, your melee, or even your ranged units, the piercing damage type, the slashing, not very strong. The only team that I'd really say sort of bring something to the table in that regard is Wolf, who have the Maulers and Sledges pretty quickly. You don't need a lot to get them going. This is an interesting change. He's built a well up there. He's probably going to stay alive a while longer. Really, it depends right now how much of this this Warlock does, and how much Orange does in general. Like I said, Otomo is a much more passive team, just as he is, so he might not actually win based off that fact alone. But I wanted to put in one of each of the factions and Kenji. Sadly, Kenji is just basically eliminated from the start. Well, he's trying. What happened to Red? He's decided... Oh, he was chasing down a peasant. Yeah, that's going to be a distraction for a while, I think. So let's have a look at the tech real quick. Purple, still just on a town hall. Orange, still just on town hall. That's unfortunate. Green, basically out of the game at this point. And finally, red. Oh, they've got an upgraded town hall. They've got horses. Oh, they've got a healer, channeler, from the aviary. Those channelers are the best healers in the game, especially once you get their upgrade that gives them faster bird recovery. They can do 3 heals before they run out, and it's not tied to stamina. Whereas your geishas are tied to stamina, and it's very, very slow going to get your stamina back. And if your geisha gets pulled into a fight, they can't heal. Whereas these things, they just recover the birds over time, and so long as you don't, use them to attack, they just get them back and can constantly heal. Definitely an advantageous healer, I'd say, and very unique as well, that they've got this bird charge system, which they can use both to attack and to heal. As you can see, red is still getting distracted by these peasants, but I don't think that's going to last much longer. Purple looks like he's finally going in for the kill on blue. Purple has seemed to stabilize a little bit. I thought they were going to get in trouble with orange, but they've got a few leaf disciples up, a blade acolyte or two. They're just sort of holding on at this point. And if we see some of these peasant huts go down, green's peasant production is going to drop, and it'll be a lot easier to eliminate them. Poor Grayback. Ooh, that was dangerous. I thought for a moment that tower was going to aggro the warlock. Ah, dear. Look at the size of this army. That is a big army. That's 3 warlocks. The healer on a horse is incredibly powerful. Just because they can run away, they can maneuver real easy. So 2 healers. I see 3 infested ones. 2 of the brothers. All 3 brothers. If they just move this entire army in, that'll just destroy anything that opposes them. I'm pretty sure at this point it's a clear winner for Shinja, but we'll see how he goes as he tries to take on this tower and these buildings. See, no, I wanted the warlocks to all focus the building so they'd absolutely demolish it, but we'll just have to wait. Right now these lightning strikes from this tower could be very useful, but it might be out of energy. The towers each have a defensive mechanic in case you weren't aware. Hopefully you are aware, because I haven't been explaining how this game works at all. But the defensive mechanic of the Lotus Tower is that it shoots lightning out, and it can do it 3 or 4 times when on full energy, and it absolutely destroys everything around it. It has a slight splash too, so you can devastate armies with a few Lotus Towers. Even, compared to the other teams, that's quite potent. Although, to be fair, the significant slow from Wolf was the one I feared most. There goes Kenji. The only Wolf player. The lightning is devastating, but the Wolf one that slows, probably the one I fear the most, because having your army slowed while the enemy just gets to wail on you, and if nothing else, the slow lasts after the tower is gone, so then the enemy has a chance to reinforce. The dragon one you'd think is as effective, but it just doesn't last as long. I don't think it has that same long-term impact as the slow or the... Let's see if it's... Yeah, I think these Blade Disciples must be resistant to explosive. That's not doing a lot of damage. On a tier 3 Warlock, Anyway, they should just steamroll through this and clear as much of this out as they can. Purple is going to be ousted from this area. I suspect... Wow, that explosion. I suspect green is not far away from the same fate. Orange is really the only one who can sort of compete at this point. They've got a decent army. I don't know if that's I wouldn't call that like a strong resistance, but it definitely put up a fight. Although, to be fair, we're talking about Otomo fighting Shinja. That's not going to go very well. So, right now, this middle section is just getting beat on from 2 sides, the constant pressure. This peasant hut's going to go down, clearing this up, freeing this area. Maybe green will try and reclaim it, but I suspect not with Such an abysmal circumstance. I think one of the frustrating factors is just how persistent the AI can be with bringing back their workers. As you can see, there's that magic attack. It drains stamina, which is that flying blue that's coming off them. So every time your Warlock hits someone in melee range, they are draining their stamina away. The Warlock doesn't gain that stamina, they just drain it from the other person. Meaning that even when they're drawn into their less effective melee range, they still have a very powerful effect against your opponents. Again, I wouldn't call Warlocks the strongest unit in the game. This game does tend to be very balanced around what units you can use, and like I said, a Dragon Warrior will beat a Warlock, and I think a Samurai in melee range might even give it a fair run, but the Warlock is just a very powerful ranged unit, and something that you really need to fear and plan around fighting. You can't just run in against a Lotus army that's well structured, because the Warlocks will sit at the back and destroy you, while their infested ones will stand at the front and intentionally die on your blades and deal you massive damage. Oh, God forbid, diseased ones. I think I saw a diseased one earlier, there aren't any now. That is upgrading. I don't disapprove. Good on him. I mean, it looks nice once it's upgraded. Yep, there we go. So tech right now, Shinja is obviously way ahead of anyone else. I wonder if he'll get a Warlock's Tower before long. What else does he have? Did he get anything new? No, still just sitting on it. Good on him though. Here comes another attack force from the north. No, south I mean. They're attacking north from the south. But he's decided not to. This battle's gonna rage for a while longer. Oh, don't lose the Warlock, you've got so many units to help. Well, bye-bye Warlock. Well, there you go. A Warlock seems to even fare poorly against tier 1 melee units with slashing. So, do be careful with your Warlocks. They are not very strong at melee range. They just have some good damage types. And obviously this is their real strength, is the fact they have an explosive weapon. Means that after they kill the enemy samurai, they turn around and destroy the enemy peasant huts. And again, if you had 3 or 4 of them in your army, that's basically all you'd need to devastate a building in seconds. It's taking, what, maybe 10, 15 shots? Probably 15 odd shots to destroy this peasant hut. And 4 of them are going to kill it in 3 or 4 volleys. They'll just destroy these peasant huts so quick, there won't even be a chance to repair. So he's out damaging a single peasant repairing. You'd need 2 or 3 of them just to keep up with the damage the Warlock deals. It was interesting watching those projectiles collide with that peasant unintentionally. It's some of the little things that I like about this game, where the mechanics are kind of rough around the edges. In a good way, where you have that projectile collision and things like that that are meant to be realistic. It does draw to a detriment of the game as a competitive game. Many, many flaws. Like, it's very hard to play in a way that is super good and skillful. Like, you can't micro your units properly because of the gluey mechanics. Because your peasants always keep continually spawn for no cost, it's very hard to eliminate someone fully. They can always just swarm you with peasants. And the more peasants you have, the slower you produce peasants. So right now, green is producing a peasant almost as quick as they are dying, whereas orange is producing a peasant very slowly. It means that orange cannot produce a military as fast as green produces peasants. And if these peasants can just kill a unit occasionally, then sometimes it trades more effectively. At the end of the day, orange will still win that fight, but it's a very slow fight to win. Shinja is biding his time. Whoa. That fire effect sometimes left by the horses. I'm not sure what causes that effect. But, I mean, I know it's the horses, but I'm not sure how it happens. Is he saving up for anything? He's got a lot of rice. He could be going for a keep next. That'd be cool to see. I do love it when the AI gets a keep. Next time I might put it on high resources and just let the AI go nuts. But I feel like the thing holding them back the most is the limits on their growth. And if they grow like crazy with resources, they'll just be able to build whatever they want. As you can see now, Orange is just going to be driven out of here, and Green's going to get his chance to recover again. Which is really kind of pointless. I don't know, I almost feel like there should have been some mechanic to hinder peasant growth. Obviously, destroying peasant huts slows them down, but generally speaking, peasants... I don't know, the fact they're free just makes these games go on a lot longer than they normally should. But it's sort of a necessary evil. I don't want to say it's evil. It's kind of a unique game design, and it shouldn't be treated as something negative. But the fact that peasants do revive so constantly, or spawn so constantly, means that you never really get that chance to kill them off effectively. You can't really snipe a team in some way unless you have Kill the Keep on, which is a silly game mode, and I would not advise putting Kill the Keep on. At least not against human players. The first thing a human player is going to do is get 4 raiders and run them over to the back of your base and throw torches on your keep and burn it down in 3 seconds. Because there's nothing you can do about that fire damage. You'll not be able to get peasants there to put it out fast enough. That's what I would do. And Red's come in for another attack. Shinja is finally going to hopefully eliminate Grayback. Serpent always picking on the wolf. Lotus always picking on the wolf. And yeah, this looks like he's going to be completely eliminated with these 2 warlocks. I'm not sure how I feel about these unclean ones. They have a weird attack. I can't remember what type it is. But I remember it was weird for a ranged attack. And yeah, maybe it's just a normal attack. Who knows? But I am not a fan of them in general, just because they attack kind of slowly, and they're so easy to drag into melee range, and once they're there, they're just useless. I know that's true for a lot of range units, but I never feel like unclean ones bring the same punch to the table. But it's okay, because Lotus has these amazing Leaf Disciples, and if you want to get to Warlocks, you need to build some tier 2 unit. In fact, in general, all the Lotus tier 2 units are kind of sorry. Their real strength is the fact you can turn them into Warlocks, and that they have on-death effects, such as creating a field of vision blocking, or a pool of damage, or exploding into a small field of damage. It's kind of clever how they were designed, and especially with the Warlocks being so strong, but not a very strong ranged unit. Someone really put a lot of thought into the tech tree of the Lotus team. I'd be talking about the other teams a lot more, but they're dead. And up here, I think Orange is trying to drive out... Oh my goodness, that's a lot of peasant huts. My only hope is it doesn't make Red go and attack that side, because that'd be a big waste. There we go, there's the keep! We see a ninja. Now we're just waiting on a Zen Master. Does he have enough? No, he needs to get some more yin before he can get a Zen Master. Well, he's got 1. That should be enough to get one of the other, one of the more cheap ones. But really, you want to see Zymeth. Zymeth is just too cool, you know. Or alternatively, Isil. Isil's my favorite Zen Master out of all of them in the game. I like the idea of this teenager who's actually really incredibly old, who is sort of weird and not with it. If you've heard how Isil speaks, he seems very out of it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And it's kind of, you know, he's constantly talking about metaphors, and he says the sun follows the moon chases the sun, and things like that. Very strange kind of guy, and it's just because as far as I'd understand it, he would view time very differently, and his ability is one of the best in the game, the haste effect, making all of your units go super fast. It's like the Wolf Tower ability, but inverse. It gives you a huge dominant power in combat for a very short amount of time. It makes for a very interesting fight. And so he's just my favorite Zen Master. I think he costs like 500 rice or something, and 0 water, or something silly like that. But we'll see if any Zen Masters come out. I don't know if we'll get a chance to see any. At this rate, Shinja's gonna win. But we'll see. He's got 2 ninjas. I disapprove of that. You've got 2 yin. Save it up for a Zen Master. Yeah, it looks like at this point purple is just about eliminated. Orange has come in to save the day. Bloody Otomo fighting Shinja. You gotta let your grudges go, man. Now you've got this area of blinding where these units are just gonna stand there as if they were hit by a... Huh. He did surprisingly well. I shouldn't be so harsh on unclean ones. I have a lot of prejudices against units. And unclean ones are gross. So, you know, I have to hate them. Got a stables finally coming up for Otomo. I think he's much behind the curve on Shinja, but they're both in a pretty strong position for peasant huts, you know, for production. Hopefully they're both doing pretty well for resources. Yeah, about the same. Both have a lot of water, not a lot of rice. So, we'll have to see how it goes. But I do think Shinja being the more aggressive, the more set up, has the keep. He'll be getting a Zen Master hopefully soon. He's got the resources to do it just about. Those horses. He's got all the horses as well. That fire breath can have a big impact. I'm hoping to see... Oh, here we go. Shinja has betrayed Otomo. They were working together to kill off the purple Zymeth, and now they've come together, turned against each other. Shinja attacking from the back, putting that knife through Otomo. If only Kenji was here. It's okay, Kenji was cooler as a serpent anyway. It doesn't look like Orange really has anything to fight this. There's just a few units, but that's not really much. You know, I always found these ninjas to be weird, that they primarily rely on a ranged weapon, because they've got such a big sword and they constantly walk around with it. But as I grew up, I sort of realized why they're not meant to be a direct confrontational unit like this, considering they don't even do particularly well against peasants. They're meant to be that sneaky assassin. Purple's rebuilding down here. It would be nice to see them fully eliminated, but they're gonna hold on for a little bit longer while Shinja and Otomo fight. I'm pretty sure this is how the start of Battle Realms occurred, with Shinja and Otomo constantly fighting, leading to the rise of Purple Zymeth Lotus. We're seeing history in action here. Have we got a Zen Master yet? Come on, Shinja. What is this army doing? That's like a dangerous force. You've got 5 horses in there. You're a warlock. That's enough to get a Zen Master. Come on. Get a Zen Master. What are you waiting for? The fight rages up here. It looks like Otomo's driven out Shinja once more. Them damn peasants. And the fact that Zymeth is still in this game is just silly. Needs to be eliminated. Like that. At least he's been driven down to his own little corner now, with little chance of recovery at this point. If these forces are stuck, and I hope they're not, but they might be. If these forces are stuck, then that would explain why Shinja hasn't been just dominating. If this clump here is unable to get out for one reason or another, like some sort of AI mistake. Oops, that one's... Nope, she's just gonna go heal, and then I think she's gonna run straight back. So that is a nice little army. Oh well. And this is also a nice little army. Really, Red is such good armies that they just need to send them in for a victory. Why is Purple sending a single Leaf Disciple up here? Maybe he's scouting, seeing if this area is safe. We're at that quiet part of the game where the AI sort of just likes to build up. There's not much that can be done about it. Still no Zen Master. This happens. The game is sort of I don't know. I guess the problem is the AI sort of assesses how strong the other AI are, and they don't want to send in a force that isn't going to be good enough to beat it. But if this continues on for much longer, I might just call the game, and we'll have a look at the stats. We'll give them one good last battle, see if one team looks like they're going to kill the other, because I don't think this is going to beat Red. But who knows? Maybe Red isn't ready for this. Yeah, right. It's got 5 Warlocks. Oh, that slow is amazing. Wonder what was doing that. Must be one of the brother powers that I don't know about. I think I know the name of it. It's like chilling something. And here come all those other units on the horses, and this battle is easily won at that point. Absolutely devastating. The healing is just too strong. There wasn't really a chance for Otomo in this fight. Not that anyone should be surprised. Still haven't got a Zen Master. Oh wait, they spent a lot of resources. Maybe they did get one. Oh yeah, ISIL! Yeah! Yeah. ISIL. And he's got a cool weapon as well. Like, he's got a giant hourglass with spikes on it. What a goofy character. Well, I think that's the deciding fight at this point. Don't think the Lotus are actually going to come back. Poor Zymeth. But I think it's safe to say at this point that no one can compete with Shinja. He's just too dominant. But we'll see how this fight goes. He hasn't actually brought his full army, which is frustrating. He hasn't even brought ISIL. What is the point? So, as you can see, that healer is just so devastating to try and fight against. She's going to die, but she already healed that guy or his horse to full, and just slowed down Otomo's ability to kill this army substantially. So much damage absorbed in that moment. It's actually a pretty even fight at this point. Oh, no, there goes down the brother sect, I believe. And yeah, with these warlocks left. Oh, getting reinforcements constantly. Yeah, I'm gonna call it here. The reality is, the Lotus, the AI in general aren't very good at closing out these games. And there's this little army again, who should be out there killing people. But the AI aren't good at closing out games. Which was the great fear I had when recording this, was that we'd just end up in a stalemate. Which is why I picked such a contentious and close-range map. But I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've enjoyed seeing the rise and fall of the different Battle Realms factions being split across the world. We didn't see any dragon. That's okay. And maybe next time we'll see a bit more. So with that, we're going to close out this game and hopefully see the scores. So, kills. Wow, okay. Oh, goodness. Okay, so Otomo had the most kills by far. That was impressive. He just must have been constantly killing Zymeth a lot more than I thought. And those big battles at the end with Shinja probably would have also contributed, as Shinja came second for the kills and Zymeth third. Zymeth was out of the game for a long time, which would have given Shinja and Otomo a chance to catch back up. Grayback lost the most units. That would have been mostly peasants constantly building and dying. Shinja destroyed the most buildings. No surprise there. He was definitely the really aggressive force, and Zymeth lost the most buildings, which makes sense. He had the biggest time to build up and the most time to get killed. Shinja, again, dominant on the resources. No surprise there. Dominant on the yin-yang, which is a bit more of a surprise. Usually the team that does the most fighting gets the most. And Otomo seemed to have lagged behind, but I guess he destroyed more buildings. Grayback, there we go. Units lost. Peasants generated 202. So, you can see why he lost so much there. Being an eliminated player, I think your numbers are of peasants generated and unit lost is always going to be pretty close. Yeah, exactly close, because you've only started with 2 peasants. Units trained. Grayback didn't really get there. Kenji, wow, really didn't go far. Otomo trained the most units, which might explain why he had the most kills. Uh, learned the most techniques, yeah. Battle gear acquired, that's the big one for me. Techniques and battle gear, I'm pretty sure are basically the same thing, but different. Oh no, techniques are your upgrades that you can get in buildings, which is very important. Some of those upgrades are so impactful, much more important than getting your Zen Masters. Battle gear acquired is obviously your special abilities. Again, Shinja was using plenty of those. Horses collected, yeah, Shinja had the most, and heroes summoned. No heroes killed this game, but overall you can definitely see why Shinja came out on top. He had the most yellow things, and Otomo being second had the second most yellow things, and the losers had less. Anyway, thanks for joining me for this bot bash for Battle Realms. I'm hoping to do more of these with more games in the future. If you know a game that you'd like to see bot bashed that can be done, I will try and do it. I'm keen to see a lot more bot bashing going on. It's always fun to watch them fight to the death and brutalize each other and do some color commentary for it. So thank you for watching, and join me again in the future.